Wow, okay. So it's already that time where I have to sit down and make this video and talk to you guys about what I'll be doing for the next year. It's not going to be a video about productivity and all these habits to studying. It's going to be a long and rambly video where I sit down and tell you guys exactly the decision that I've made regarding my future in medicine. Hopefully at the end of this video, you guys will understand where I'm coming from and why I've made the decision that I have done. What is going on, guys? My name is Kenji. Welcome back to my channel. Hopefully it's not the first time you're watching one of my videos, but just in case it is, I'm a doctor working in London. But before we begin, if you do want to watch a video on productivity, studying, or you need a bit of a motivation, then go check out my last video that I just filmed about my last week working as a doctor in psychiatry on night shifts. I'll link that video up here somewhere. But why am I making this video, guys? Why am I taking the time to sit down and tell you guys what's been going on in my mind? It has been a really difficult last few weeks for me. I've had my mind all over the place trying to figure out what I need to do for the rest of my life, essentially, and what I need to do regarding my career in medicine. I thought it'd be really good, not just for you guys, but also for me, to be able to sit down here and share all of my thoughts, all of my feelings as a way to just reflect for myself, but also for you guys, if you're someone that's interested in medicine or already in medicine in whatever regard, hopefully giving you guys these options that you have as a doctor that you can take, the different paths you can take, the advantages and the disadvantages. Hopefully it will help you guys out in some way or form. What I'll be doing in this video is firstly telling you guys about all the different options that I was considering regarding my future career. I'll be talking about all the different pros, all the different cons, and then finally at the end of the video, I'll be zoning in on what I have chosen now. The application deadline for specialty training has actually passed now. I think it was yesterday. So I have made a decision, and in the end of the video, I'll be telling you guys exactly what decision I made and why I've come to make that decision. Let's go ahead and get straight into this video, starting off with where exactly am I? So if you're new to the channel or you're someone who's not familiar with how training works for doctors here in the UK, I'm currently a foundation year 2 doctor in the NHS, in the UK's National Health Service. Essentially what that means is that in the UK, medical school is 5 or 6 years long, depending on whether or not you decide to do an intercalated degree. I personally didn't do that because I had a degree already beforehand. So I did 5 years of medical school. I didn't do the 4-year graduate program. Even though I already had a degree, I didn't actually get onto the graduate program. I got onto the 5-year undergraduate program. So I spent 5 years at King's College London. I absolutely love medical school. Go check out my medical school videos if you want to learn more about what medical school is like here in the UK. But then I finished that. And I think just over a year and a half ago, last year, July, I finally started working in my dream job as a doctor. I started off as a foundation year 1 doctor. So that's what we call the first year of foundation training here in the UK. And then how it works is that you do 2 years of foundation training. So I finished off my FY1, foundation year 1. I started my FY2 year a couple of months ago, and now I'm moving into my second rotation of my FY2 year. So every single year, essentially, there are 3 rotations, which last 4 months each. And then once you finish all 6 rotations, which takes 2 years, you then finally move on to specialty training. So I'm now in the position where I should be, or maybe will be, wait until the end of the video to find out, applying for specialty training. And what happens is that over the next few months, you get invited for the exams, you get invited to interviews, and then next year, August, you start your first year of specialty training. And how long you spend in specialty training here in the UK depends on your specialty. So for example, if you want to go into GP training or like family medicine training, that takes 3 years, and that's the quickest specialty route that you can go down here in the UK. If you decide to do a different specialty, for example, pediatrics, that takes 7 years. Psychiatry also takes 7 years. That will be an extra 7 years from where I am at this stage. After completing F2, it'll be a final 7 years of training to then finally leave the title behind of junior doctor and then become a fully qualified consultant. So that's how it works. After your first year of foundation training, FY1, you then get your full license to practice. So in your first year after graduation from medical school, you only have a partial license to practice, and you have to complete that initial year to get your full independent license to practice. And that is a very quick and brief summary of how training works here in the UK. So the very first option that I've been considering for a very long time now is to do what I'm already doing right now, essentially stay on my current path, my default path, which is to stay in medicine and pursue specialty training in the future. Now, what I'm really interested in is pediatrics and psychiatry, 2 different specialties. I know they're very different specialties. However, they've been the most enjoyable specialties that I've had so far working as a doctor. So far in working as a doctor, my first specialty was pediatrics. I then went on to stroke geriatrics. My third and final placement was then psychiatry. I was working in an elderly care inpatient psychiatry psychiatry ward. My fourth placement was then in the community, again working in psychiatry. My next placement is obstetrics and gynecology, so that's my surgical rotation. And then my final placement will be working on the acute medical unit in the hospital, so back to sort of general internal medicine. I love pediatrics, I love psychiatry. I'm currently working in psychiatry. I do extra shifts in psychiatry because I really enjoy it. And the same with pediatrics. For the last year and a half, I've been doing pediatrics. I've been working extra shifts still, and it's been so much fun. It's been really, really enjoyable. So let's start off by talking about the pros of staying in this current path that I'm on. I have my laptop here and I'm just reminding myself of this long rambly video. But the first pro really will be, it's what I've been working on, right? I've spent the last 7 years essentially working towards this goal. If I include my last degree in biomedical science, where I was, still pursuing this goal of getting into medical school and becoming a doctor, it's been like 10 years in total of pursuing this dream, this goal of being a doctor. And the first pro really is that I will be carrying on with that fun journey that I've been on for the last 10 years. The second thing to note is that I love being a doctor. I know there's a lot of problems in the NHS. Working for the NHS makes it difficult. However, NHS aside and all the political things aside, I have really enjoyed working as a doctor. And to be fair, the NHS is trying its best to make it work for the entire population. So I do understand the struggles related to that. But politics aside, working as a doctor, honestly, in my opinion, it is one of the best jobs in the whole entire world. Honestly, it is a huge privilege. You're able to save lives. You're essentially a superhero. You're a real live Superman. And it's such a privilege to be able to help people in the last year and a half at their best, at their worst, when there's a new baby being born into this life in pediatrics, or when people pass away as well. It's been such a huge privilege. I've learned so much. It stimulates my mind. And I'll stop here because you guys have watched my channel for a while now. You know how much I've loved working as a doctor. But that really is the most pros that I'd say. The cons is I've sort of already alluded to the cons, but the first con is staying in the NHS for longer. I don't want to take away from the how amazing the NHS is doing, and how amazing the idea is of a public healthcare system for everyone that is free at the point of contact. There are a few problems that are coming with the NHS. We know this, it's on the news all the time. First one being the low pay of doctors. Doctors here in the UK are not paid their worth at all. It's the difficulties that have led to us striking, and consultants also striking in the last year. The second con really is working as a doctor, guys, is difficult. Like, it's an amazing job, but it is a difficult job. In the last year and a half, I've seen death. I've given CPR myself. I've had patients die below my arms, literally. I work nights, I work weekends, I work long shifts. I'm working Christmas Day and working New Year's Day. It is a very difficult job, and like, looking at my friends who graduated with me in school, they have a very different life than I do. And like, that comes to no surprise, right? We know what doctors do. It is what I signed up for. But it is also worth mentioning that if I stay in this career for the next 7 years, it will only get harder, and specialty training is much harder. Working as a registrar at a higher level with more responsibility is harder. It doesn't get any better here from a risk or a difficulty or a hard work perspective. But again, that's what we all sign up for as doctors. That's not really a con, but it's worth mentioning. The next and really important thing, the default path, like, don't get me wrong, I love being a doctor. It is exciting to go into specialty training. It's so hard to say this, but please don't take me in the wrong way. It's a little bit unexciting. I don't know if that's a word, but unexciting from the perspective of, I know exactly what the next couple of years will look like. I've worked in pediatrics so much, for example. I know what pediatricians do at every single level, and I know exactly what it's like to be a consultant. Like, not the deeper nuances of the job, but I've seen it with my own eyes. I work with registrars, I work with consultants. I know exactly what my pay is going to look like every single year. The path in front of me is very well laid out, and that kind of comes with a bit of lack of excitement because it's running on the same treadmill that I've been running for the last couple of years. So don't take me wrong, I will enjoy being a doctor, but there's not much mystery in what's going to happen in the next couple of years. The next one, which is very common amongst a lot of doctors my level, is to go into taking a gap year and becoming a foundation year 3 doctor. Now, although being an F3, it's not an official title because it's not part of training. You have to do F1, you have to do F2, you don't have to do F3. It's a new term that doctors have been really getting involved in, which is being a foundation year 3 doctor. So you're not a specialty doctor, but you're the 3rd year in your foundation training, technically. I think there was a survey recently and it was like 2 out of 10 people at my level are pursuing specialty training, and the vast majority are actually taking this gap year. And it's not a gap year of doing nothing or doing something completely different. Most doctors, including myself, would still work as a doctor in some regard. So that mainly involves locuming, or some doctors take up a trust grade position permanently at a hospital. There's loads of things you can do. You know, some of my friends have actually accepted training as educational fellows, you know, working in teaching hospitals and just providing teaching to, you know, medical students and junior doctors. So in terms of pros to taking this F3 gap year, so the first pro really, and probably one of the most common reasons why doctors do this, is the earning opportunity. So you guys have probably seen my last videos where I talk about how much I earn as a locum doctor and the locum work that I do. If you don't and you haven't seen that video, go watch that video up here, because you can earn a lot as a F3 doctor. If you're working purely as a locum, if you're willing to work 40-hour weeks, 50-hour weeks at a locum rate, like some of my friends have earned over £140,000 a year just from being a locum doctor. Some have earned close to £200,000. Like, it's crazy how much you can earn as a locum doctor. That's another pro, of course. Like, the last 2 years, I haven't really been earning very much from a doctor perspective because of the low salary that we get as a doctor, unfortunately, here in the NHS in the UK. Now, that's the first and most obvious pro working as a F3. The second thing I really had to consider was that if I decide to take a gap year F3, it will provide me with some time off for a break. It has been a long time, guys. I've been on this treadmill for such a long time. I went to high school, like a lot of you guys probably have. I finished off high school. I then went to college, to a sixth form college. I finished off sixth form college. Then I did the same thing that we all do, which is apply to university. I got into university. I did 3 years of my biomedical science degree at the University of Birmingham. I then applied to medical school. As you guys know, 5 years of medical school. Then I applied. We had another application like everyone else to get a job as a doctor. And I've worked as a doctor now for 2 years in total. It will be. It has been a long, constant treadmill. I haven't taken any gap years since the age of like 16. It's been non-stop getting through medicine and reaching where I am now. As I'm sure you can imagine, it would be nice to have a small break. It would be nice to like get off this treadmill a little bit and do other things in life that interest me. It would be lovely to travel the world, do YouTube more, and just see what it's like to not be on this treadmill. Still work as a doctor in some regard, but do other things and take a small break from what has been a very busy and very difficult last decade, essentially. The third thing I've been thinking about is, as I just mentioned, it will give me time to do other things, as I won't have a fixed schedule. Working as a doctor now, or if I went into specialty training, I would have a very fixed schedule. I'd be working, you know, on average 50-hour weeks, 5 days a week, sometimes 6-7 days a week, because we're on call a lot. Still working night shifts and all those other things that you have to do as a doctor. It makes it very difficult, guys, firstly to save up for other things. It makes it difficult because you have to keep applying for annual leave, and it's very difficult as a doctor to get annual leave when you want it and for how long you want it. It's very restraining on your schedule. Like, it's not a normal 9-to-5 job Monday to Friday where you could instantly get annual leave approved. Working as a doctor is a very different story. You work night shifts, you work on calls. Getting annual leave is very difficult. It makes everything else very difficult, essentially. And there are other things that I enjoy in life, guys. There are other things that I want to do in my life. I'm so proud of myself. The last year and a half, I've still been able to keep up with more or less a weekly upload schedule alongside my 75-hour weeks sometimes. Please like the video right now, guys. I've worked really hard to keep making content for you guys, and I've loved it so much, and I love the support you guys have been giving me and the channel. You guys are amazing. I would love to have more of a balanced life that, unfortunately, working as a full-time doctor cannot provide all the time. But of course, like everything else, it does come with a bunch of cons. So the first con about this would be I would essentially be losing a year of training. This F3 year does not count towards your specialty training. Even if I did psychiatry for the next year or pediatrics for the next year, it would not count towards my specialty training because I wouldn't be on a specialty training program. So some people might say that I'd be wasting a year of my life, even though it's not really a waste. Like, life is not a competition, but I essentially would not be contributing any time towards that specialty training of eventually becoming a consultant. One other thing that I've really been grappling with is that if I decide not to pursue training, you kind of feel left behind and you feel very lonely. So many of my colleagues, my best friend, you know, they're all applying for the next stage in life. You know, they're all applying for specialty training. It is very competitive to get into as well. So if I don't apply this year, then what if I don't get in the next year to specialty training? Would I then have to be an F4? It's a lot of people just put all their effort into the application right now, get in right now, and carry on with specialty training. So if I don't pursue specialty training, it feels very weird to not be on the treadmill that I've been on for the last decade. It feels very weird to be taking a, you know, atypical route that no one else might be. So that's the next thing. It's a very lonely route sometimes to be taking. And finally, the last con, it's not really a con for me. It's not how I see it, but I would essentially be jobless for the first time. Like, I literally wouldn't have a contract. I, of course, will be doing other things on the side, like YouTube and locuming that would give me money. However, you don't get the satisfaction and the benefits that come with having a long-term permanent job. For example, a fixed salary every single month, sick leave. If you are sick, you will get paid. annual leave, you know, getting paid leave. If I don't go to work as an F3, I won't get paid. But, you know, as a permanent doctor, if you don't go to work for annual leave, you will get paid. There are a bunch of benefits that you lose with not having a full-time contract. And I talk more about that on my locum videos. Go check them out if you want to know more about that. But the last point would be that I'm essentially jobless. Okay, so I want to take a very quick break from the video before I move on to the final route that I may possibly be taking to tell you guys about Picmonic, who are kindly sponsoring the video. Now, if you guys have never heard about Picmonic before, I've been, you know, preaching them so much on this channel because they're the number one way that I've actually been able to revise throughout medical school. And even to this day now as a doctor, still be able to revise and retain all of my knowledge throughout medical school through using Picmonic. What I love about Picmonic is that they're very unique. What they do is not like other resources out there that just give you all the information and expect you to memorize it like that. What Picmonic do is very different, and it's also very unique. Picmonic actually give you a picture, a mnemonic, and also a storyline that really hacks your brain and makes learning new content so easy. And it's that unique ability to tie in a picture, a mnemonic, and a storyline that makes it so easy for me to remember all the content that I learned in medical school up until now, 2 years later as a junior doctor.
Bones are described in this Picmonic by the 8 carpal bones. The mnemonic to help remember these bones is: some lovers try positions that they can't handle, shown as the lovers trying positions until they can't handle it anymore.
What else I really enjoy about Picmonic is that they give you daily quizzes to make sure that you actually test your knowledge of everything that you learned in the sessions from your studying, and therefore allows you to apply active recall to remember what you need to know. If you do find any new information from any research that you do, you can actually edit each Picmonic to make the Picmonic unique to yourself so that all the information that you learn from medical school is in one place. All of the content on Picmonic is actually all up to date, with students across the entire world able to add to the Picmonic database, which is superimposed by all of the information provided by the Picmonic experts. What's really funny and really interesting as well, and again very effective, is that all of the characters across each storyline are actually related, making it a lot easier to differentiate between similar facts, but also tying in all of the information that you've learned through your study sessions. If you guys want to check out Picmonic for yourself, they actually have a free version on there, but if you do decide to go for the full membership, then you can actually get a percentage off the premium by clicking the link down below in the description. That's Picmonic. Let's go ahead and get back to the rest of the video. Okay, so the final decision and career path that has really been playing on my mind for many months now, particularly when it's been difficult working as a doctor, is unfortunately quitting medicine as a whole. This is a very taboo topic, right? People don't want to talk about potentially quitting medicine. I don't know why it is, but if you're a lawyer who decides to open up a business, or astrophysicist that wants to change careers and go into computer science, like everyone literally claps their hand for you and are very happy to discuss that point. But when it comes to being a doctor, there is this sort of like ethical / moral obligation that makes the potential of quitting the career in medicine so taboo and is often looked down upon. But it needs to be spoken about, it needs to be addressed, and it needs to be normalized. Like, just because you invest so much time in becoming a doctor, just because you save lives, does not mean that you should be shackled to a career for the rest of your life if you so decide that that's not what you want to do. All the haters out there, I know there's haters watching me in this video that will not like this topic, but it has to be spoken about. And I would be doing a huge disservice on my channel to not talk about this to potential medical students, to potential doctors. It is important for you guys to know. Now, what would be the pro of quitting medicine as a whole? And obviously these will be some selfish points, but it's my channel and this video is about me, so I have to be sort of selfish and be honest with you guys about what's been going through my mind to hopefully help you guys as well with any decision that you have to make. So the first pro is about quitting medicine is that there's so many caveats and so many things I have to say in this video to not sound horrible. It is a bit exciting, you know, like not quitting medicine, but having a change in career is somewhat exciting. You know, I've watched my friends who've gone from being a lawyer to going into opening a business, and it's a whole like world out there that they've never experienced before. It's a new set of skills to gain. It's a different environment. You know, you're not in this bubble that is very much the case in medicine. Like in medicine, if you're a doctor, you work with nurses, you work with doctors, you work with other healthcare professionals, and that's your bubble. That's not quite the case with other careers. And it'll be quite interesting just to see what might be out there for me if I was to take matters into my own hands and do something completely different. Point number 2 is the future earning potential. So like I said, doctors in this country, in my opinion, do not earn their worth. Even consultants who are very specialized, very knowledgeable, very smart, they're not earning how much they should be earning in this country, unfortunately. If you look at other places in the Western world, the UK is actually quite behind on salary for doctors. Other places across Europe, Australia, America, they're earning what they should be earning, and the sacrifice that you make to become a doctor is balanced by the pay. But unfortunately, that's not necessarily the case, as I mentioned, and it would be exciting to potentially have a career with a higher salary and be paid my worth. Third point and final point that is a pro, the potential to work online or potentially in another part of the world. I always admire my friends who work online and who are able to move to Argentina for a few weeks and go to Bali and then go to Thailand and America and all these places. And when you're a doctor, you are stuck in that town. Like, you have to be physically in the hospital. There's very, very few cases where you can work from home. In psychiatry over the last few months, I've been very fortunate enough to have some days working from home because my consultant is amazing. I don't see patients every single day because I work in an outpatient psychiatry unit. But as a whole, being a doctor, you are tethered to one location, to one job, to one physical hospital or GP or wherever you're at. And it would be a bit exciting to, like I said, see what it's like to live in Venezuela or Brazil. The cons are very obvious in my opinion. The first con is that I would miss medicine a lot. Like, I've worked so hard to get here. I love being a doctor. The thought of not being a doctor is quite scary because, again, I would miss, working with patients and doing what I've been doing the last year and a half. The second, and probably the main thing that stops a lot of doctors from leaving, is this thing that we call the sunk cost fallacy. Essentially what that means, big word, but what it means is that because you've invested so much time and effort in a given thing, whether that's, working on your body or working in a particular career or whatever it might be, the fear of like giving up everything that you've invested is so large, and you almost feel guilty for giving up that thing that you've invested so much time on, that you then decide not to change careers or change relationships or whatever it might be, because you're thinking that you would essentially, have a sunk cost, and you would lose out on what you've potentially been working towards for such a long time. It's a big reason as to why I think a lot of people stay in unhappy relationships, unhappy jobs, unhappy, body types, whatever it might be. Like, I think it's a really big reason. Now, the final con of quitting medicine would be that it would be very unclear what sort of journey this would look like for me. For some people, like, it's very obvious. Some people just think, you know what, I'm going to be a full-time YouTuber, and that's completely fine. And like, that is very obvious for them. With me, like, I don't know what it would look like because my channel is largely based around medicine. Being honest, I don't know what else I would do in terms of YouTube. I love making these videos. I'm sure I'd find something else to talk about. I love talking, as you can tell, but I wouldn't really know what to go into. I don't know what other career I'll go into. I don't know what else I might do. Essentially, it's not that clear cut for me. It's not that black and white in terms of what the next step would be, however exciting that might be. Those are the three main things I've been thinking about. Of course, there are other things here and there, but I don't want this to be a 1 hour video. So I'm going to stop it there and tell you guys what I finally decided to choose and also why I have chosen that decision. But before we get there, I still do have 2 rotations left, right? I have Obs and Gynae coming up next week, which I start. And then I have AMU, the acute medical unit, to finish. And then I'll be starting this next August, or end of July, I'll be finishing foundation training. So drum roll, please. I've actually decided, guys, to take a gap year. I've decided to take a year as an F3, and I'm actually quite at peace, with that in my heart. There was a young child, Kenji inside of me, who's the child who, had his dream of working as a doctor and starting specialty training as soon as possible, that I had to unfortunately upset. That's okay, I'm over it now. It just feels right for me, The other options were good options, there were difficult options to not choose, but I feel like taking F3 is the best decision for me. And this is the first time actually publicly that I'm ever mentioning this and announcing this. The reason why is that, firstly, like I said, it's a very common thing to do, but I really want to take my time with this decision, and I'm in no rush at all to become a consultant. I don't think this is a game where you have to rush to win the game. Like, there is no winning the game in life. Until the day you die, you will be chasing something. You will be, even if you're a consultant, there'll be another part of your life that you're chasing. What we should really be aiming for is not necessarily reaching the end of the game, because like I said, there is no end. It should be about optimizing your life for how you want it to be every single day. And I don't want this to be a very quick decision. I want to make a very well-informed decision, even though I've probably already made up my mind in terms of what specialty I want to do, either, psych or pediatrics. But still, like, it's so hard to know who I'll be in a year from now. The Kenji who became a doctor a year and a half ago is so different to the Kenji that I am now. My wants are different. As I get older, my priorities are changing. I wanted to be a neurosurgeon when I was in medical school. Like, that is so different to who I am now. My wants are different. My relationships are different. My personality is different. It's so hard to know who I'll be. And ultimately, at some point in time, you do have to take the jump and take the leap and make a decision without all the facts in front of you. But as well as that, I do want to take some time to work on other things. I still will be working as a doctor. That is, like, no doubt. I still will be working as a locum doctor, maybe working a couple of times a week, once, twice, 3 times a week if I fancy. But I also will be investing time on this YouTube channel. I still want to carry on making videos for you guys, maybe not necessarily to do with medicine, maybe other aspects of life, maybe to do with other things I'm interested that I haven't had the time to discuss on this channel. I want to do other things in my life outside of my career as well that require time. And I want to just see what life is like, not being on this constant treadmill that I've been on the last 10 years. And I'm super excited, guys. I honestly am very excited to see what the next year will bring. Like, I'm very at peace with my decision. I hope you guys support me as well. If you do, like I said, leave the video a like. Let me know down below in the comments that you guys are sticking around. I would love to have you for the next year to tell you guys about everything that I learned along this long and very difficult journey that we call life, that we weren't taught how to live. We weren't given a book about how you should live your life every single day. We're all in the process of life learning and trying to live the most optimal, happy life that we possibly can. So that is my decision, guys. I hope this video has been somewhat informative. I hope it's helped your thought pattern about what you can also think about or consider when you are a doctor. Let me know down below with a comment about what you think about my decision and also what you guys want to do in your future. Or if you're ahead of me in your career and you're watching this video, let me know what you've chosen. I would love to have feedback on this. And also, before you go, please leave a eggplant emoji down below in the comment if you've made this final video. I love you guys. I appreciate you for being on this long journey of medicine with me. Thank you guys so much for watching the video. It's been a very long, rambly video, and I appreciate you. And I'll see you guys on the next one.